everybody, and welcome back to It Takes a Village, the podcast where we explore ways that we connect and belong, both in our faith community at Countryside, as well as in our communities around us, neighborhoods, friends, family. We all belong to different kinds of communities. But today we are talking about our particular community at Countryside and thinking about how we interact as leaders, how we interact as participants in co-creating the community that we love so much. And so it is my privilege to introduce to you Heather Moran, who is Countryside UCC Director of Spiritual Formation. And Heather has been with us since August. And we are so thrilled that Heather is here working to support our spiritual formation. And she's just a bright light. So Heather, welcome to It Takes a Village.
Well, thank you, Jenny. I'm really excited to be here today and have this conversation with you.
Well, we're so glad to have you. Before we dive into all things exciting, we're actually Lent is coming up, and that's going to be another podcast. But I want for our listeners to hear more about you, Heather, and just your personal journey. You have spent more than 22 years in education and advocacy, probably even more than that, before stepping into this role. What drew you to spiritual formation, and how does it connect to the past kind of work that you have done in your life?
Well, let's just go back a little bit to my beginnings. I was a kindergarten teacher for 22 years and then stepped out of that role to be an advocacy director for the state. Well, first in North Dakota, the North Dakota Education Association, and then I worked here for NSEA, the Nebraska State Education Association, as an advocacy director. So really, my whole career has been in education and advocating for students, teachers, and public schools. That's where my passion
Mm.
lies. Really making sure that there's a difference being made every day in the lives of kiddos. That was my passion as an educator for 22 years. And when I saw that there was so much more behind the scenes going on, I knew that I needed to take a deeper role and do something
Mm.
to really make a bigger impact. So I stepped into the advocacy role. So that was really what drove my passion I did that for about almost 10 years. And that, I will say that that was a draining job, but it was very, very, very rewarding in many ways. But it does take a lot out of you to do that. So what drew me to this position, I took some time away from that, time away to
Mm.
just read and rejuvenate myself and to know that I needed some space away from all of that for a little while. I knew what I needed,
Mhm.
some self-care for my own self.
Yeah.
And then I was looking around at different positions. I knew I needed something a little lighter, a little fresher, a little not as deep in the weeds as what I had been doing. So but I really, since the day we walked into Countryside, it felt like home to me. So when I saw there was a
Mm.
position, I looked at it probably 10, 15 times before I ever even applied for it. And then I
Wow.
realized I actually could do this job. I thought, I think I actually have the qualifications to do it. So I applied and
Mm.
then I didn't hear anything for a while. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I don't have the qualifications to do it. But um, uh, and then I did hear back and it was just delightful because like I said, thinking about the fact that you could go to work every day at a place that makes you feel like you're going home was really, really joyful to me. And it really was going to make such a huge impact on my life.
Oh gosh, that's so powerful. And I mean, the genuine kind of nature that you just kind of live your life with in general, right? I think of you as such a Zen person, someone who really thrives on being centered and connected. So knowing that you've had that foundation, the 22 years in a kindergarten classroom, I mean, I love my littles, but that takes a special kind of soul and saint anyway. Can I go to the bathroom? I would have said, sure, honey, go to the bathroom. And they're all down the hall, right? I'm fired. But you have such a generous spirit and this, kind of bright light. And to know that you have chosen different kinds of opportunities along the way to use those gifts and the passion for education and for young people and just all people. I mean, that's inspiring to know, number one, that you can commit to something for so long and then another door opens, right? You continue to progress throughout your own career, leaning into where spirit calls you next, and that those skills can, be used in different settings, right? In advocacy, right? You taking a break is really important. I mean, somebody who's done a lot of activism and advocacy work as a clergy person and as a community member, there are these kinds of conversations that we have all the time about self-care. And a lot of times there's not, people don't take the right amount of self-care within advocacy circles. And sort of it's like this badge of honor to never sleep and to have 8 million pounds of coffee and to just protest and be there on the front lines all the time. And it's so important, but you can't do that work alone. And you alone means you can't even do it with yourself only, right? Your physical self and your mental and spiritual self need rest, right? So they can continue the good work. So I love that
Yes.
you shared that part of your background and then are here with us, to continue this, the next leg of your journey, nurturing our children, our youth, our adults to really find their own sacred center. That's great. I mean, we are thrilled to have you here. One of the things that we did sort of as we were looking at this position and the needs of our own community was reimagining, Christian education and what that looks like across the ages. And so we even changed the title of our own programming to from Christian education more, which has been a lifelong way that churches have talked about biblical literacy and educating children and adults through understanding the Bible and their faith and how those intercede. But we changed it to spiritual formation, sort of this all encompassing opportunity for people to really discern their own path, but also a wider, I think, a swath of what we call education within the Christian umbrella. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, let's talk about spiritual formation. What does that phrase mean to you, or how do you see it defining other people at Countryside in the way that they are seeking out their own faith growth?
Sure. Yeah. So when I looked at spiritual formation, I look at it as this umbrella of what we can form underneath the umbrella. We can put our kiddos in there, we can put our youth in there, we can put our young adults in spiritual formation, and our adults, and what kind of programming can we provide for them inside of that umbrella that is engaging. So sorry, like I said, we have some things going on here. Um,
Well, we love cats. So if Chester
yes.
jumps up on your lap or meows,
Sorry,
we
Chester.
will invite Chester into the
Okay,
conversation.
thank you. Um, so what I was saying
Yeah,
was
the
that what
umbrella.
we
Yeah.
can, the umbrella, what we can do to provide for everyone underneath that umbrella that engages um, a progressive programming for all of them. Um,
Mm.
and that doesn't just mean something spiritual. That means also what we can gather in our fellowship as well. So
Mm. Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm gathered, what I bring, or at least what I see as what spiritual formation is from my perspective.
Yeah. And, when you're talking about that, explicitly spiritual versus, fellowship and kind of that umbrella, so much of the Christian life and so much of life in general, right? It's the spiritual life encompasses all of those things: how we communicate, how we relate, how we have fun, how we dive
Yes.
into deep theological conversations, right? So it's this great opportunity to engage people where they are. And some, I mean, we know this to be true, right? Across the ages, when you talk about spiritual formation and you invite a congregation or a community to self-select into different groups that are meaningful for them, some their spiritual discernment or their spiritual growth is through those deep theological, conversations and reading books. For others, that is really not the way that they are nourished and nurtured. They might choose, to do a yoga class, to do meditation, to go out to dinner with their friends and really experience God with and within, right? In that refining way that we are in relationship. So I think that's a beautiful way of really approaching spiritual formation at Countryside, because the diversity of what people long for right, exists not in just a uniform, like singular experience.
And that's what I've noticed since I joined as a member over a year ago,
Mm.
actually now almost 2 years, that there's such a diversity of folks that are there and what their needs are and what they want from their church. And that's one thing that I love
Mm.
about Countryside is that it's willing to provide that for everyone. And that's what I look at this umbrella as being. We can provide what we can meet people where they're at and what they need.
Oh, that's so great. So, on a personal note, for you, what is the I could, answer this question way too long and nobody wants to hear from me again and again. But I'm curious about you. Which, if you were to just decide, I really want to grow spiritually in this umbrella, what would be something that would attract you at Heather as the person? You know what? This is the thing that I would respond to for my own formation. What would that be? Maybe the countryside has, or just if you could make it up, what would you
Sure.
choose to
So some
enlighten
of the
your own
things
journey?
that I am involved in country at Countryside right now is I actually do um, go out to dinner with a group of the Countryside folks
Woo!
on Thursday nights. I have a sushi group and then just it's called a 9 to 9 group, and it's more than 9 couples, but it's huge. It's a really large group of folks that get together, and we try different new restaurants. But I love the fellowship. I love getting to know new people and where they're at in their journey, and where just hearing their stories. Everyone,
Mm.
I mean, just to be honest, between you and me, Randy and I are some of the youngest ones in the group. So it's really amazing to hear these just incredible stories that we hear from all of these folks that we're having dinner with, and the life experiences that they've had is just amazing. And
Mm.
I am just enthralled by them every time I get to listen. And part of my advocacy work is just knowing that part of being a good friend is that 80/20. I'm going to listen to you and let you have the floor and have some time to talk to me because I want to hear your story. So
Oh, that's so
that
great.
has been what I've really loved is those one-on-ones, those getting just to
Mm.
talk to people. And in my job, I've actually had that opportunity too with lots of the members of Countryside who want to provide different services for maybe adult education or something else. Just having those one-on-one conversations with different members of Countryside, the community. So that's been really great for me too, because I love having one-on-one conversations with folks and hearing where they come from and what their background is, and just giving them the opportunity to share with me.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I will share is that I love your between you and me, since this podcast will be shared with all of Countryside. So you all heard it. Heather, she is the youngest person in the group. No, but I hope you will listen to this podcast, because so much of what Heather is sharing is the beauty of Countryside. The members, your stories, if you're listening, that's you, right? The journey really is made more rich and, spiritually enriching because we're co-creating this story together. You know, one meal at a time, one conversation at a time, one listening ear at a time. I love that. So Heather, you've been in this role for about 6 months now. What has surprised you most, I would say, about stepping into the director of spiritual formation role at Countryside?
I've really been surprised by just the amount of support I've had from all the members and everyone
Mm.
around me who just rushes in to help in any way. I'm going to give a little story about this past Sunday where I
Mm.
had a family emergency, and I called on a member of my board who I said, "Is there any way you could take over Discovery Kids for me on this Sunday? Because my mom is in the hospital." And at that point, when my mom
Mhm.
got admitted to the hospital, we really didn't know what was going on. All we knew is that her heart rate was at a 40, and that wasn't good
Oh
at
my
all.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
it was really scary. My mom has congestive heart failure, so
Yeah.
that's really frightening when you hear that. So um,
Mhm.
I just called on her, and she said, You need to ask no more." Yes, absolutely. I am there. So
Mm.
just the fact that
Yes. Okay.
whatever's going on, I know that there are people out there who will, that has been, it's been surprising, but it's also has been uplifting to me to know that I'm not
Mm,
alone in this role, that they may not be a staff person, but they're there and
yeah.
they're, and even
Mhm.
all the staff has been there to uplift me as well in this role as well. So that has been the most surprising thing to me is that in advocacy, sometimes folks are
Mm.
um I don't know how to say this in the most appropriate way, but they can be in their own silo. And I love
Yeah.
the fact that there are not silos. So that
Mm.
makes me really overjoyed and just um so incredibly fulfilled.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'm going to add that so much of leadership, right? Your leadership, your collaborative spirit, your desire to partner and to uplift others. I think people are always hungry to be in relationship where there's joy and there's positivity and there's someone who sees you. So you have an amazing board. I mean, I could just all those people, but I really also will add that your kind of invitation to journey alongside and to partner with has both inspired that board, right? Which then in turn inspires others to join you. I mean, it's sort of Discovery Kids launched, and here's Heather. Here are my goals. I want all these teachers by this date. And, it was sort of like, oh, I got all my goals, week to week. It's here's my goal. And this is what I'm hoping for. And then you're kind of just seeing people out of the woodwork saying yes, yes, yes. And I want to reflect back that has so much to do with your invitational humility, and your partnering. And it comes with understanding, right? As an advocate, as a teacher, as a listener, that you know how to lead, but you know how to be a leader of leaders, right? I always say that I'm a leader of leaders, right? That we all have a role to play, and leading our own self toward a faithful witness, a faithful response. And so when you lead leaders, you basically just say, hey, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. Do you want to join me? And I just see you doing that so beautifully. So I'm thrilled that you shared that experience, being so surprised that people were overwhelmingly, responsive to you and supportive. And I think that just speaks to the nature of the heart of countryside, but drawing amazing leaders and servant leaders to the community means that we are just kind of continuing to add more of what really matters to the heart of our community. And that is faith rooted in humility and service. Anything else surprise you that you want to share or that you've learned along the way, kind of already here at this point? I mean,
That
Discovery
people
Kids
aren't
would be a
afraid.
great thing to talk about.
Yes, yeah. The people aren't afraid to try new things, like because a lot of the stuff that we're doing is new and different, and so that people aren't afraid to try
Yeah.
new things. Like the Discovery Kids the model is different and it's new, and that they've jumped right in and that they have tried it without any hesitation, and
Mm.
they're they're doing it with an open heart and an open spirit about everything that they do. Um,
Mm.
they speak so highly of it as well, and they speak so highly of it to others that they draw others in to Discovery Kids as well. So I'm really just overwhelmed and surprised by that as well.
Yeah, that's been amazing just to see. Okay, we're going to have this new program. I need teachers. I need, and the children are loving it. I know I have two children in Discovery Kids, right? And the preacher's kids are not, they have to be at church, but it's like, oh, but then they're enjoying those experiences and, want to sit with their friends or, oh, we don't get to go to Discovery Kids. We have to, so I think that new things can be unnerving for kids when they're like, oh, what are we doing? Or how's this going to go? But again, all those smiling faces of teachers that you've recruited and your continued presence, it's just been a beautiful thing to watch that the church has really embraced and supported. And, it's a great way to, I mean, the actual curriculum too that you're using has been a really good, a different sort of scope and sequence, but a really good way to engage kids in their faith formation. It gives like
Yes.
agency, right? And belonging, which is so important.
Absolutely.
I know that one of the things that you talk about, Heather, is um, wanting kids to kind of have like the essence of faith formation is like love, knowing that they're loved and have a safe place and create belonging.
Yes.
But one of your deep passions is that they also connect all of that to wanting to serve and love others, right? To go out.
Yes.
And that's a big part of your own faith journey, right? Loving to be
Yes.
loved, a servant to serve. How have you seen
Yes.
that taking shape in the Discovery Kids or in the children that you're working with?
So one of the things that we did actually, this was a Wednesday night program, but most of our Wednesday night programming kiddos are our Discovery kids. So
Yes.
um, one of the things that we did that was one of the most successful things that we did that they loved doing was we did a service project where we made comfort bags for the homeless. And I never saw them
Mm,
get so involved in anything. They just loved it so much. They first decorated the bags, then they put in each of them put in different items for the folks, and they wanted to make more. They, can I make another one? Can I make another one? And they were counting like,
mm.
oh, I made 15 bags. I made 20 bags. So just
Oh,
the whole idea of making how many bags they can make. And then I want to take them home with me so I can keep them in my car and hand them out to people as we see people that need them on the streets and so
mm.
forth. So it was just an amazing opportunity to show them that not only are we giving back at church, but we can give back to our community as well. And how do we do that? By
Mm.
doing things like this. And I hope there's more
Oh, that's so
opportunities for us
amazing.
to do things like this in the future, like even taking them to maybe serve a meal at Open Doors Shelter or Open Door
Mm.
Mission. So I hope that there's more opportunities for us to do community service, because I think that that is just the greatest way that we can show kids how they can live through their own servant leadership themselves.
Oh, that absolutely. And parents, I think that's one of those caregivers and parents who, are bringing their kids to these kinds of amazing programs, want their children to have these opportunities, right? It's character development, it's spiritual growth, it's understanding, right, who Jesus is in the eyes of someone who needs care. So thank you so much for doing that. Partnering with these organizations to see how we can show up in the world is amazing. I know that you've been creating a new partnership with with the House of Ba, which is a wonderful, amazing nonprofit and caterer, Jamal, who's at Tri-Faith a lot, who's been such a part of the Commons. Tell us about this new partnership because I know you're so excited about it, and I know our
I am
listeners want to hear.
so excited about it. I'm disappointed that weren't able to have our launch last night, but
I know
well,
the
we will have it
snow,
soon.
right?
So after we had the House of Ba come and cater the wonderful, delicious meal that we had on when we launched the village houses, I was just so
Yes,
inspired by that because one, when he said you can't hate someone else when you've shared their food with them, I just would
right.
that comment just resonated so much with me. I really loved that
Mm,
comment because I feel like that isn't that true. Once you share a meal with someone, it's hard to dislike them. It's really hard to
it's
dislike them.
true.
So,
Yeah.
um, but I'm a picky eater for one, and I tried so many new
Yeah.
things that night, and I've told that to Jamil that I I've been craving those things again to eat them again, which
Oh,
I
I know.
never thought I would. So right after that, I wanted
Yeah.
to find out how we could maybe do something with the children. What could we do? And so I
Mm.
reached out to him, and we started working on maybe a collaboration where he would do a cooking class for our Wednesday night programming. And we finally were going to launch it last night. However, our extreme cold weather kept us from doing that. But we're going to have 4 sessions, and he's going to do different. Like there's going to be a breakfast around the world session where it's just different what different
Wow.
folks around the world eat for breakfast. There's going to be a session about different sauces that people like to have on their foods.
Mm,
So and the kids get
it's
it's
gonna be
hands
so
on.
good.
It's all hands on. So the kids have their own. The kids will
Mm.
cutting boards and little plastic knives. So it's not just like a demonstration where they're watching, they're going to be in it,
Right.
doing it themselves. So I think too, the fact that they're not only going to get to participate and learn about other cultures, but they're going to get to
Mm,
hands-on do this work themselves.
mm.
How incredible. And then get to try everything.
Oh, so good. I mean, I'm just listening. I'm like, I'm here. I, sit there and talking about this. That so both of my kids, are signed up for it and are so excited. Well, and Jamil is pretty great.
He
We were
is.
at Lola's for lunch one day, and Jamal's in there. We were talking, and the kid, Sage and Quinn were there, and Jamel's like, he's just part of the family, and so we've seen him several times, and he just connects with kids and with anybody. But he's just this deep, amazing soul who loves people, and so the heart of his ministry and his passion is he's doing it to bring people together, right? Such an
Yes.
interesting way to go about this, and the kids are going to have this great opportunity. Well, so since you've been talking about it, Sage and Quinn have been looking through all of our cookbooks at home and wanting to do cooking, which I mean, Quinn will do with me. She likes it, but Sage is like that he will sit there and just go through these books and like, ooh, I want to cook this. And they haven't even started yet. So I just think, I love that you have really just given this 125%, right? You just said, this is a goal. I want this to happen. This has changed, how I see things. And now bringing it to our kids, even Quinn's little best friend, who their family don't attend church anywhere, but they thought, oh, this would be a great experience, is signed up. So such a powerful way to understand who we are, right, as people, and through food, through eating, through customs and culture. So much of my own peace building and peacemaking trainings across the globe have been through food. And one of them, started in West Africa. My own love of West African cuisine, right, is rooted in relationship building in a very similar experience. So I am going to be signing up and looking in on the kitchen. But thank you, Heather. I
Good.
know you're so excited about this,
I am
and
so
you
excited.
have really brought
This is
amazing energy.
this is something that I've been looking forward to since actually the launch of the Village Houses when I first
Right.
met him. So we've been working on this since then, and we finally have it to get kicked off. This well, we are going to reschedule for March 5th. That's going to be our official kickoff
Hmm.
date is March 5th. And then we will have the 4 sessions after that. And then there'll be a session where the kiddos get to make their own food for their families and serve their families, which I think will be an incredible experience for them to culminate
Mm.
everything they've learned in these 4 weeks to then bring it to their families and be able to serve a meal to their families. So this is all the brainchild of Jamal though, because he
Oh my
is really
gosh.
been the one who has come up with all of this. And so my hope is that not only do we create this, but we also are able to continue this throughout next year as well. And we do something with them again, that this is such a just wonderful experience for everyone that we are able to continue this collaboration throughout the years. So
I think that's going to be awesome. Well, I know you all have mentioned possibly doing this across our Tri-Faith campus with our other
yes,
houses of faith, right? Pilot here
yes,
to see what
yes.
is possible, eating together. Just, I want to eat that food right now when you're talking about it, right? Who
I
doesn't?
know, me
But just
too. Me
eating,
too.
right? I want eating peanut sauce is like, to die for. And he does such a great job with it. But yeah, how we bring our faith communities together, eating, sharing across the table. Jesus taught us that you can share a meal with someone you love. You can share a meal with someone you love and who you may not see eye to eye with. But coming together to remember at the table, it's a way that I think all of our faith traditions are used to compromising and respecting and loving our neighbors despite the things that we may not always agree on. So I love
Right.
that our kids are having this experience. And I'm so thankful to you and your leadership, Heather. Anything you want to leave us with that you're excited about, or anything in the coming year that you're looking forward to, or just something that you're inspired by, as you do this ministry with our children, youth, and adults?
I like to do more with doing things with some of the intergenerational learning opportunities that are abound at Countryside.
Mm,
We did have one opportunity to do something with some of the with another board where we had them come and do an art project with our kiddos
mm.
for Wednesday night programming. But I'd like to do more of that. So I am in the coming year, I would like to reach out to Fame and see if they would maybe want to do something with us, like as an art project,
Awesome.
or and then just working with Kim Schwartz again for some more art
Mm.
projects and so forth. But really looking how I can connect more of our boards to what we're doing in our kiddo program, and then how we can be more connected, all of us together, so we can build these bridges.
Oh, awesome. So exciting. Well,
Yes,
Heather,
so
it has been
that's
such a joy to have you here. Because look at you. You're building bridges, and we have Abraham's Bridge that has helped build our village, on the commons.
yes,
It takes a village to do this work. It takes a village to support each other in difficult times. It takes a village to celebrate, right, together, all the joy that we have in this faith journey. So, thank you for sharing your vision, your heart, and the incredible work that you're doing with our spiritual formation programs and with our faith family. It's been a joy to have you this morning.
well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciated you taking the time to interview me today. So i'm I'm overjoyed to take this opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you. Well, and thank you to our listeners. If you'd like to learn more about spiritual formation or anything that Heather has shared, please go to our website. You can contact Heather, any of our staff, our boards, but there is something for everyone at Countryside. And remember, it takes a village. Keep building your own village, and we hope that you will continue to be part of ours at Countryside. It takes all of us to create communities for connection and belonging. So, friends, until next time, take care and be well.